What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one, and I have a brand new suggestion box review for you guys. I just watched a movie called Bullethead, starring Adrian Brody, John Malkovich, and once again, all grown up, Rory Culkin. First of all, you know what time it is. You know what time it is. I have to give the huge shout out to Cheryl Burton. Thank you very much. And anybody else who wants to suggest something to me, feel free to do it. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Now, I have my limits. I have my limits, and you will find out real fast what they are. But for the most part, I will watch almost anything. All right? Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. First of all, I want you to take a ride with me through the history of man's best friend in film. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Back in the days, there were dogs like Lassie and Benji. All right. These dogs were your wholesome family dogs. All right. Very trustworthy dogs. You could trust them to save a family member every time somehow they do it. All right. And then years down the line, Hollywood decides to take a dark route when it comes to dogs. Hence, Cujo. Yes, Cujo. And this is a very messed up movie, by the way. It showed you all the wrong things about owning a dog. Specifically one bad thing. Specifically one. Alright? And then, after that, years after that, they decided, let's tone it down a little bit and get back to those wholesome dogs everybody loves. All right. Then came out Beethoven. Beethoven, that's my boy. That is my boy. I loved that movie when I was younger. When I was younger, not now. Still, get it right. But I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. That's my dog, literally. And then Air Bud came out. I'm not a big fan of Air Bud. It's a little too corny for my liking. But, it is what it is. It's just a bit too cheesy for me. Ridiculous. But now we have this movie called Bullethead. And there's a dog in there named Dinero who is very much like a dog I just mentioned. Somewhere in that list. You know who I'm talking about. Maybe. And my question is Bullethead one of those movies that you can put in the man's best friend Hall of Fame for film? We're about to find out. Let's go. Bullethead, for those who don't know, for those who are not aware, I'm 100% with you on this, guys. I had no idea about this movie either. This movie came out in 2017. Somehow this movie went way over my head. Somehow, I don't know how it did it, but it did it. All right, and now I'm just now finding out about this. All right, Bullethead, pretty much about 3 professional criminals, burglars, thieves, what do you want to call them, who've been given a job to do in a abandoned building where they got to get this stash of money, of course. But what they don't know, that this used to be an old dog fighting arena. All right. And somehow it's not vacant. It's not as vacant as they think it is. Okay. Because there's still one dog roaming around in that abandoned building he's a very tortured soul. And he's here to let them know just how tortured his soul is. And that's the premise of the movie. Positives. One thing that I can say about this movie, it has a strong character dynamic. All right? What I mean by that, well, okay, for one thing, we have the older burglar, which is named Walker, played by John Malkovich, right? He's the guy, he's the seasoned vet. He's the guy that you want to listen to. You want to follow his rule. He's been there, he's done that, the whole shebang. All right? He's the man to follow. Okay? He won't steer you wrong. Then you have Adrian Brody's character, Stacy. He's kind of the guy in the middle when it comes to age. He's probably like early to mid 40s. Am I right? And the thing about him, he's seen some things too. All right? But he still has this chip on the shoulder, this attitude problem that he has. He's not a lot for the games. He doesn't take a lot of crap. Let's put it like that. His patience are thin. His patience is thin. So he's here to get a mission done. He's here for the love of his life. All right? He's focused on that heavily. And that's all he can see. That's him. Then you have the youngest character in there, played by Rory Culkin. He doesn't actually have a name, but he is the youngest character. His thing is he's a bit of an addict. He's a lot of an addict. He's a drug addict, okay? And on top of that, not only is he an addict, he's a very selfish person. Cares only about himself entirely. And it's a big flaw for him in this movie. He can only see things his way. He's stubborn, hard-headed, all the things above. In which things will change up later on, but we'll get into that later. So you have these three guys, different kind of guys, with completely different personalities. All right, but they have one thing in common. That one thing is dogs. And you'll see that in their flashbacks, their background stories. They all connect to each other by man's best friend. Inside and outside of their flashbacks, as you'll see as well. All right, I thought that was very unique and very interesting that they did this like that. All right, nice concept. Nice concept. Another positive for me: the flashbacks. Of course, I was going to get to that. All right. Usually, I do not enjoy a movie or a show that has tons and tons of flashbacks on top of each other that don't mean anything towards the end. We had this issue with Naruto. All right? You knew how I felt about that. It's ridiculous. There's about 16,000 characters. You get 16,000 flashbacks. Don't need it. But with this, it's different. It's very different because each flashback, it actually gave something to the story, to the whole storyline was complemented with these flashbacks. Everything meant something. Every flashback gave the character more development, especially one in particular, which we're going to get to in a couple minutes. But it's just, I like how you really could get a grasp on each character when you saw their flashback, when you saw where they came from, what their motivation is, how they think overall. All right? I loved how it depicted that. And so now we're going to get to one of the best positives to me: the character development, especially with the character that Rory Culkin played. Okay? And I'm going to say this off the top. Rory Culkin's character is absolutely a great trip. It's an absolute great trip. I say that because he started off very annoying, irritating person. Like I said, selfish, cared about himself only. All right? Somebody you just want to throw out the window. And I think Adrian Brody's character, Stacy, can agree with me on that because he punched him in the face at one point. He felt bad about it afterwards. I didn't. I cheered him on. I was like, yes, punch him in that face. He has a punchable face. But after a while, after Rory tells his background story and what happened to him, that's when I started to understand why he is the way that he is. For some reason, his story hit the hardest. He had the biggest influence on, how you felt about the character afterwards. Let's just say for a lot of dog lovers, now I'm a dog acceptor. Because I say that because I don't own a dog or nothing like that. But it used to be I really didn't have any patience for that. But it had to develop over time with me on my stand on dogs as pets and all that. And if I ever had the chance, I would. But, so anybody who really who really owns dogs like that, you're going to feel this part, because there's a connection he has with a dog from his childhood to where something happens to that dog. And it's so disturbing and sad and messed up that some of y'all might cry. Some of y'all, the tears going to come down on that part. And I looked at that character in a whole different way. All right, that was an incredible development in this character. I'm not gonna lie. Negatives. Let's get to the negatives. Now we're gonna talk about our good old buddy Dinero the Dog. All right. I have to ask this question: how smart, just how smart, can a dog really be? Now I know, and I've read up, that dogs can be as smart as a 2-year-old. Alright? And therefore, there's a scene where this dog, he's trying to break something open. Alright? By running into it. And surprisingly, he's that strong to do this. But yeah, he's doing this. And so he figures the further he goes back and comes back up again, the harder the impact is going to be. So I think with one of those last runs, he goes all the way back, and it just comes to going. I wondered. I was like, can a dog really figure it out like that? Now I know it's possible if a 2-year-old can put a stool up so he can get to that top shelf. Babies do it all the time. So I was like, oh yeah, okay, that might be doable or possible to believe. But there are other things this dog does in this movie that I'm not just going to take the 2-year-old mind capacity for. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. No, he has to have a human brain implanted in his head to do some of the other things that he figured out. I'm not going for it, man. Another negative about this. Now we're talking about the villain, Antonio Banderas. Now, he did okay for the most part, a.k.a. Blue. But here's where it got me. This is a very big trope with a lot of villains, with the shooting. His aim was horrible. And we know a lot of action movies, people are just shooting all over the place, and they're still not hitting their target. This guy was point blank range, almost up on his target. I'm not gonna say the target was, but he's on his target, and he's still hitting the wall. He still hit the wall. What the hell is that? What is that? Now a little later on, some results come. A little bit of results come from what he's doing, but at first you were even closer, and you didn't hit anything. I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it. No. And so my last negative is the ending. All right. The ending of this movie was a bit predictable. And I was already halfway through this movie already. And it got to that point, and I was like, if they do what I think they're gonna do with this ending, come on, man. Come on, man. Be a little more creative than that. I know where this ending is going. And when that ending came, it was exactly like I thought. From thought to thought. From scene to scene, how it played out. Because they've done this so many times with a few other action or thriller movies. They've done this so many times before. But to be honest with you, when you think about poetic justice, it really had that. It really was something that somebody deserved in the end. It was somebody got what they deserved. It was like, yes. You know what? I'm cool with it. Even if I did predict it, I'm cool with it. And that's why I'm giving this movie a hell yes. Okay. It's just the connection with the dog. The dog was a whole nother character in this movie himself. You feel the sorrow. You feel the development of Rory Culkin's character along with that. I'm sorry. Loved it all, man. I want you to like this, share it, and you better subscribe if you haven't.